Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday Western U.S. regional forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, we begin with an animation here showing the mid-level water vapor. So this is the amount of moisture that's in the atmosphere. We're looking at the flow over the last couple of days here, and we can see this massive low pressure system, this upper level low that is just churned across much of Northern California, the Northwest, and really just pumping a lot of moisture into the mountains. Got a lot of mountain thunderstorms out of this, and some locally very heavy rainfall. But why we're watching this is not to really diagnose what just happened, but to talk about what's about to happen. And you can clearly see a huge stream of moisture coming out of the Central Pacific, and that is going to be our story really over the next 5 days. Taking a quick look at the last 72 hours of total accumulated precipitation, Northern California, we had some locations that are picking up well over an inch of rain. Some spots here at higher elevations picking up 2 to 3 inches of rain, including quite a bit of snow in our mountains. But getting up into the Pacific Northwest, some hit or miss showers and thunderstorms really soaked some locations here. In fact, we still have flood watches out. So see this color right in through here. This is flood watch. So we have gotten a lot of rain and we are nowhere near done. But the other thing I want to point out before we get into this forecast is what we're expecting here in the Sierra Nevada. We do have a winter storm watch out, and we are expecting over the next few days here to pick up anywhere between 12 and 24 inches of snow in our mountains here. Which is a lot of late season snowfall, and so therefore we're going to have some troubles with the passes, as this rain and snow comes in, it's certainly going to be a lot. And here it is. This is what the atmosphere is doing. Here's the flow deep into the jet stream layer, and you can just see it. It's just funneling right here across the Pacific and then curling up. And the reason why it's doing this, and this is very important for West Coast weather, is because there's a dominant ridge over the southeast. And I've been talking about it for weeks. I imagine people are sick of hearing me saying the word southeast ridge. But when it's in place there, it helps kind of block the pattern up, plus some stuff that's going on way up here at the high latitudes, kind of shutting down the ability for this pattern to do anything other than flow strongly out of the Pacific Ocean. So because of that, what are we dealing with? Well, you can see the next storm system already curled up here, ready to make its impact on the Pacific Northwest, and there's another one behind this one. And the whole country is watching these storm systems as they progress toward the West Coast United States, because they are the systems that the rest of us are going to have to deal with. And much of the country right now is dealing with major flooding, and as a result, major planting delays. So let's just look at the next 5 days in aggregate across the whole of the country. And you can see here that we're going to be adding an additional, maybe half inch through parts of the Sacramento Valley, getting into the northern parts of the San Joaquin, but then parts of coastal Northern California, maybe picking up an additional 2 to 3 inches, but you can see that stretches all the way up into Washington and Oregon as well. We still, of course, see our rain shadow effect, but some folks, even in that rain shadow, are going to be picking up some additional rainfall here. Just to see what snowfall amounts are looking like here, like we said, we possibly in parts of the Sierra Nevada can pick up another 1 to 2 feet of snow. So again, this is going to be an issue with the passes here and adding a lot of late snowpack here to the mountains, which will be good, I guess later in the season for our reservoirs and for snowmelt. But, we're already full. We've been looking at that recently. So this is kind of bonus snowfall at the end of the season. Looking at the rainfall totals, I wanted to just step back and look at the European model here, just getting you through the next 7 days. So this takes you up to next Friday morning. And you can see some of the numbers here. Really in the valley, we're not picking up that much. We're talking about, in the Sacramento Valley, getting into the San Joaquin, rainfall amounts ranging from a quarter to, in some locations, 3/4 of an inch. A lot of this is elevation dependent. So when you look in through here, we're just looking at, the rising, elevation here as we get up into the mountains. That's where we're getting the additional lift. But Northern California, some spots picking up an additional, like I said, 2 to 3+ inches of rain. Coming up to the Pacific Northwest, again, widespread rain across much of the area, certainly getting in here to parts of the Columbia Basin, like the Yakima River Valley. Amounts will be lower, but still, this is a non-zero event. So we're going to be getting some precipitation here. So with that kind of as the backdrop, let's talk temperatures next. Because the flow patterns featuring this strong Pacific jet that dives into a trough over the west, we do see that we have a cooler pattern setting up for the next 5 days that carries into days 6 through 10. And the question is, how long does this hang on? Well, certainly it's there in in the 11 to 15 day time period, but we do start to see warming in the Pacific Northwest, and I'll show you why in just a few minutes. But we tend to not be able to break down this highly amplified pattern through the end of the month of May. So while we did pick up, and I talked about this last time, while we did pick up some additional heat units, these growing degree day units over the last few weeks, we've shut things down over the last 5 days, and we're going to continue to see a cooler bias and a wetter bias as we progress forward in the near-term forecast. Putting it all together before I give you some of the details, let's just look out at the next 15 days from the GFS ensemble on the left and the European ensemble on the right, and they are remarkably similar in their precipitation amounts, and you can just see the wetter trend is going to continue for much of the rest of the month of May. That's the big story told right here. Now, what about today? Starting off very early in the morning, around 4 o'clock in the morning here for the West Coast, with what we're seeing. We still had all the widely scattered showers and thunderstorms across much of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana. But watch what happens as I click play here. That moves to the east and kind of curls up. See that counterclockwise flow? That's the big upper level low that we're watching carefully, which is going to create a multi-day severe weather event across the midsection of the country. But you saw the storm system sitting off the West Coast, and here we can see that by Saturday morning, it's now hitting with an abundant amount of moisture in Northern California. So this animation ends on Saturday midday, and it looks like Saturday morning right there, the next big push of rainfall comes in for coastal Oregon and Washington, and that's just the beginning of it. Turning now to our high-resolution model from the Europeans, which goes out actually 10 days. Let's just click play and get to that point. So here we are. This is now Saturday morning. You can see the big push coming in there, hitting Northern California. Deep upper level low just pushing into the west. And so this is, I've got you all that to now Sunday morning. So multi-day rainfall event here getting into the early part of next week. Now, as that moves east and gets into the Rocky Mountains, it looks as though we get, a little bit of a break early Monday morning for some folks, but the next system, you can already see it there. It's the giant bullseye sitting off the West Coast. It comes in by the time we get into Monday evening and then Tuesday morning. So we actually have a multi-day, rainfall event setting up here, getting you through the next week. And that is going to be the name of the game until hopefully, I hope the models have this right, until this larger area of higher atmospheric pressure tries to build in, allowing us to get some reprieve once we get into the end of next week. But until then, the next 7 to 8 days look pretty unsettled across much of the Pacific Northwest. So the question is, how long does this pattern hang on? And so what I did was I took you out to day 10 here. And by day 10, the models are advertising a bit of an interesting pattern. We go kind of back over to that high over low situation. Now, certainly for the rest of the country here, the dominance of the southeast ridge, plus this trough that keeps coming through Southern California, is going to keep this section of the country active. But my question is if the models have the position of this ridge right, this could mean a warming and drying trend for the Pacific Northwest, while California, we're still going to be dealing with these troughs that swing through as we get toward that 4th week of May. And then through June 1st, we do see the pattern still advertising something similar to what we've got with that ridge that you see there building into the northwest, possibly causing a shift of stuff to the east. And we would love to see that after how wet things are going to be in the coming days. But what I'll be spending, I think, much of my weekend trying to understand, and I featured this in all my videos today, is when I get you out here to the first week of June, this is what the flow pattern is kind of looking like. And there's a couple of interesting features here. One, if the jet stream does have to do this, that's a bit of a different look than we have been seeing. I would say that this is a bit of a drier look for the Pacific Northwest, but the question remains is, are the models kind of picking up properly on, you kind of see the height lines bow there, are they picking up properly on that trough feature in California, which would make it, continue to be a cool start a cool finish to spring and start to, early summer here. It's very difficult with this pattern to pick up on what precipitation patterns are going to do across the west. But if we do keep featuring a trough feature in this area, that would suggest that California, you kind of hang on to a cooler, wetter bias as we progress into the month of June. Big question I'm trying to understand, though, is are we going to be seeing a ridge start to develop here through June and then back its way over to the west? We've seen that repeatedly over the last several summers. It's brought in some serious heat and the potential for some drought development again. But I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying if I got to watch something, it is that. Okay, I'm going to wrap the forecast video up right there. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to our next Western Regional Forecast video, which will be coming out next week. In the meantime, my.nutrienagsolutions.com has all of our video content. Check it out every single day of the week. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.